Hi everyone, and welcome back to the series where I take a square out of the Granny Square Stitches card deck every week, all year, and we work through it together. So this week we are tackling this one. This is the Granny Stripe, and it is made up of granny stitches. The granny stitch is actually a cluster of 3 double crochets all going into the same space. And so here you'll see them along the chain. They're worked into chains, and then elsewhere they are worked, they're into the chains as well, but kind of over the chain, if that makes any sense to you. So let's take a look at the instructions for how to work it in any size. So if you needed to make this larger or smaller, this is where you come to find out your pattern repeat. So your starting chain needs to be a multiple of 3 plus 5. And then to work the square that they've shown here, we're going to start with 14 chains and then follow the chart, working in 2 row stripes of yarn A and B until square. Working in 2 rows means that we don't have to cut our yarn. Our yarn's going to be waiting for us, our next color, so we can just pull it up as we go. To create the single crochet edging, see pages 22 and 23, and that's referring to the booklet here. And that shows you how to do your bordering. So as always, I am using Cascade Anthem yarn, and I have got 2 colors. This is Poppy Red and Pink Pearl. I think this is Pink Pearl anyways, yes. That's what we're going to be making our square with. I know we've been playing with the size of our square, and I am a little concerned when it says make 14 chains. So let's do that and see how big this is going to become. Because I want my squares to be a mostly consistent size, I'm going to see, how big that's going to be if I just use 14 chains. So I have a 5mm hook, and I'm going to start with my Poppy Red. Let's zoom in. We're going to start with a slip knot. This is the way I make my slip knots, but there are several ways online as to how to make them. I've done it several times in slow motion on these videos, so if you need a refresher, then head on back to some of the earlier weeks. Okay, and we need to start with 14 chains. So I'm going to yarn over and pull that yarn through the loop on my hook 14 times. So that's my 14 chains, and I am fairly convinced that's not going to be big enough. So let's just do the first row or the first 2 rows, and we will figure this out. Okay, so according to our chart here, this is the chain that we've just made, and we need to start in the 4th chain from the hook because I have 3 chains stacked here on my left hand side. So into that 4th chain from the hook, I am going to put 3 double crochets. So to find, and I like to work in my back bumps. So to find my 4th chain, I'm going to count my bumps. So that's 1, 2, 3. There's my 4th chain. So I'm going to yarn over, insert my hook into that chain, draw up a loop, 3 loops on my hook. I'm going to yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the next 2. I'm going to yarn over and go right back into that same chain and pull up a loop and repeat my double crochet. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. I'm going to repeat that one more time, all in that same chain. So now I have my 3 double crochets. Next on the chart is a chain. So in between our 3 double crochets, we chain 1. And then I'm going to skip 2 chains and repeat this 3 double crochet cluster into that 3rd chain. So first I have to chain 1. Then I'm going to come down here and I'm going to count 1, 2, 3. So I'm skipping those 2, and into this 3rd one, I'm going to repeat my 3 double crochet cluster. So there's 1 double crochet, 2 double crochets, and 3 double crochets. And we're just going to keep repeating that along. So I'm going to chain 1, I'm going to come down to my chain, and I'm going to count over 3. 1, 2, 3. And in that chain, I am going to put 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to chain 1, come down to my chain, 1, 2, 3, and into that 3rd chain, I am going to put 3 double crochets. You'll notice I have 1 chain left. We will address that in just a moment. So that's double crochet number 2 and double crochet number 3. Okay, let's take a look at the chart again, and it'll tell us what to do in our last chain. So I've just completed these 3 double crochets in my second to last chain, and now I look at my last chain and I see a double crochet there. So I'm going to double crochet in there, and then to get to my next row, I'm going to chain 4. These 3 chains are pretending to be a double crochet. This chain is helping us hop over the cluster beneath so that we can work into the space in between these 2 clusters. It'll make more sense as I take you through it. So first of all, I'm not going to chain 1 after this cluster. I'm just going to immediately put a double crochet in that last chain. And if you'll see, I'm just going to pull this out for a minute. Because we started over here with like how we skipped those 3 chains, these 3 chains are pretending to be a double crochet, or they're pretending to mimic the double crochet that we've added to the last chain over there. All right, so let's get ready for row number 2. I'm going to chain 1, 2, 3. That's my pretend double crochet. Now I'm going to chain 1 more. I'm going to turn my work, and that 1 more chain is going to help me hop over these 3 double crochets here. And then in this chain 1 space, I am going to put 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to chain 1. I'm going to hop over these 3. And in the next chain 1 space, I'm going to put 3 double crochets. A granny stitch is typically made up of 3 double crochets. I'm going to chain 1, hop over, and then put my granny stitch in this next space. Okay, let's take a look at the chart and see what we're supposed to do at this end. So we're now down here. I've just made these 3 double crochets. Now I need to chain 1, and I need to put a double crochet on the top of my beginning chain 3. I also need to change color in that double crochet. So I'm just going to get my second color ready. And now we're going to chain 1. And I'm hopping over my granny cluster, these 3 double crochets, and I'm going to find my starting chain 3. And then I'm going to start a double crochet. I'm going to find the top of it, and then I'm going to attempt to get under that V. Pick up 2 strands. It will make everything a little bit more secure and keep my square square. There we go. So I'm going to yarn over and pull through the first 2, and now I'm going to pause. I'm going to grab my second color, lay it over my hook, and then that one gets pulled through those last 2 stitches, or loops, I mean. And now I'm just going to lay that red on there while I do my chain of 3, and then we're going to turn our work. So let's take a look at where we are on the chart. We've just changed to pink, and we've chained 3, and now I'm immediately going to put a granny cluster in that first chain space, and then repeat my pattern. I'm basically repeating these 2 rows. Before I do that, let's just take a look at the size of this. If we bring in this one, for instance, and I lay it here, I might be okay once I add my border. I might be okay. So I'm going to keep going, and hopefully it's the right size. Okay, so let's take a look. Just going to get more yarn here. Get all my tails out of the way. So I've just chained 3, and now I need to make a granny cluster in this first chain 1 space. So I'm just going to go right into the space and put 3 double crochets. And I'm going to chain 1 to hop over this cluster, and into that chain 1 space I'm going to make my next cluster. Oops. Chain 1 again, and hop over. Make another cluster and repeat 1 more time. Chain 1, I've got 1 more space, so I am going to make 1 more cluster. I just wanted to point out something on the chart. So I'm right here. I've done this final chain or cluster in the chain 1 space. It might not look to you like it's not a normal chain 1 space because it's not in between clusters. This is part of that chain 4 that we made when we turned the row to start row 2. So that's why this cluster space, this chain 1 space, looks a little different from all the others. So now I need to end this row like I ended row 1 with a double crochet. I'm not going to chain 1 after this cluster. I'm just going to double crochet, and then I'm going to find the top of my 3rd chain. So 1, 2, 3. I'm going to come in here. I'm going to attempt to get 2 strands of yarn there, and I'm going to do my double crochet, and that is how we are looking so far. So now we need to repeat repeat row 2 for row 4. So we're going to chain 3, turn our work, chain 1 more to hop over this cluster here, and then I'm going to make a cluster in this first chain 1 space. So we've got 1, 2, and 3. Chain 1, hop over, make another cluster. So I'm going to continue this at the end of my pink. I'm going to switch back to my red, and we need to do this 1 more time each. So 2 more rows of red, 2 more rows of pink, and then we can start our border. So hopefully you can see, like, granny stitches and granny squares and granny stitch blankets and all sorts of things are so popular because it is fairly fast once you understand where you're putting your stitches. A lot of these patterns are made up of these clusters of 3 double crochets, and they are typically always worked into spaces. So you don't have to dig around for stitches. You barely have to count your stitches because you're just looking for spaces, and then you just have to count your clusters. So row 1, if we look at our chart, Row 1, we've got 4 clusters. Row 2, we've got 3. And then we just alternate 4, 3, 4, 3, 4, 3. So it's super, super fast and easy. Okay, I'm going to continue. I will meet you back when we're ready to start our border. All right, so I have done my repeats. So I've got 2 rows of the red and 2 rows of the pink. I haven't done my final color change here. I wanted to bring in the square that I was using to sort of size things. So I'm just going to pull out that last stitch there. And as you can see, we are right on target. Oh, sorry, let's just zoom out a tiny bit. Okay, we are right on target for this square to fit all my others, because once we get the border in, we'll be right up to size. So I've already chained 1. I need to make my last double crochet over here, and I'm going to switch color back to my red, which is waiting for me in my last pull through, and then I can cut off my pink. I'm going to chain 1, turn my work, and then we're going to start working the border. And the border is 2 rounds of single crochet. In the corner stitches, you're going to work a single crochet, a chain 1, and a single crochet. And then in the second row, you work that same stitch pattern into the chain 1 space. We've done this a few times, so I think we should be good to go. But you might be wondering about stitches, like where the stitches are. So here, that is our final double crochet, so that's an easy stitch. Let's just count our stitches. 1, if we count the chains as well. I'm just going to count the chains for the sake of the count right now. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Yeah, that's pretty perfect. So that's what we're going to do. Each stitch, so each double crochet gets a single crochet in it, and then we're going to work around our chains. I'm just looking at the picture for reference, and I'm pretty sure that they are working around their chain spaces. So that's what we're going to do. That'll just make things easier than having to dig into chain stitches. So I'm going to start in this first one with a single crochet. I'm going to go around that first chain space. Then I've got 3 double crochets. So each of those gets a single crochet. If you need a refresher on how to do the single crochet, please go back and watch the very first video in this series, which was all about single crochets. Now I'm at a chain space, so I'm just going to go around the chain space with my single crochet. 3 last double crochets here to go work into. I'm going to go around my chain space, but now I need to go into the chain. So I need to find the 3rd chain, and I'm going to come in here. I'm going to try and pick up 2 strands. This can be tricky. Your chains will get tight. I don't think I can do it, so I'm just going to grab 1 and put a single crochet there. Now this is my corner space. So it's going to get a single crochet, a chain 1. I'm going to go right back into that same space and make another single crochet. Now we need to figure out how many stitches we need down the side. So I've got a chain 3 here. That's probably going to get 2. I've got a double crochet that should get 2. That's a double crochet. Okay, so it's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. Yeah, that'll work. So I've already actually got 1 at the top here. So I'm just going to put 1 more around that chain 3, and then kind of into the sides of this one, we're going to put 2 single crochets. Remember, there's no defined stitches, so you're making spaces where you can. trying to grab 2 strands of yarn where at all possible, just to give you some stability. So we need 1, 2 there. 2 into the side of that double crochet. We've got another chain 3, so I'm going to put 2 double crochets into it. I'm just honestly poking my hook through where I can. 2 into the side of this double crochet. Two into this one, and then I've got my last double crochet. Whoopsies! So it's going to get 1 at the top there, and then I'm going to come and I'm going to find the bottom stitch, which is actually the first stitch along the bottom here, and I'm going to go into it, kind of on the side of it. Okay, so that's my last stitch of the row. I'm going to chain 1. I'm going to go right back into that same stitch. And now I'm going to work across the bottom. Now, these stitches, because we're working double crochets right into our chain and like skipping chains, these chain stitches have likely gotten quite tight. So if you can't get into your chain, just work over. Just remember you've got 2 stitches in these gaps, so work 2 double crochets kind of over the chain. But if you can get into the chain, try it. Our next stitch is actually where our cluster came out of, so that's nice and big, and now we've got 2 chains. Honestly, I don't think I'm even going to attempt it. I'm just going to go around my chain, go into my next stitch, go put 2 around this chain, one there, and then let's try and find our last stitch space here and work into it so that we have a nice crisp corner. There we go. Chain 1. We're going to work right back into that same space. And now we're working up the side again. We do have some of these tails to deal with, so I'll be working over those as I go up the side. And again, 2 per row as we go up. I'm right back where I started. I've got 1 last stitch to do, and it needs to go in the very first, like where my very first single crochet was. We're going to chain 1, and I'm going to slip stitch to my first single crochet. I can chain 1, and then round 2 is going to be a little bit easier because I can just go into where my stitches are already. So I will meet you back at the end of round 2, and we can look at our final square together. All right, there we have it. Finished square. This is the granny stripe for week number 8, and join me again next week where we tackle the block stitch. That should be fun. I don't think I've ever actually done a block stitch before, so that'll be something new for me as well. I will see you then. Bye-bye.